Well, I think the big thing for us is that you have your traditional games media outlets, and what they do is it's tried and tested, but it's very true at the same time. People like that stuff, but that's not necessarily what is going to be relevant in the future. Now, I could be completely wrong saying that. It's just my opinion. It could be in 25 years' time, that's the most relevant thing, and we'll be like, we screwed it up. But I genuinely, if you look at the kind of world, especially with video in video games right now is probably the most important thing given the success of YouTube. So I think if you're in traditional games media and you're not looking at people like PewDiePie and Stampy Cat and NerdCube and all these people and trying to do what they're, not necessarily do what they're doing, but see that what they're doing is reaching an audience, then you're probably not looking at the way the water's flowing and stuff. We have a website, videogamer.com, which is very newsy, features, reviewsy, but then with the video stuff, to kind of tie into that YouTube audience to be silly, stupid, irreverent, but most importantly, still get a message across about games. So games are entertaining, games are fun. In many ways, games are for children. That's where you get into games though. So why not have fun with them? You know, why not muck around and why not try and tap into that audience that wants gaming personality? And it just so happens that we've all got very odd senses of humour. So it's like, screw it. If it makes us laugh, it's got to make somebody else laugh. It's the Ricky Gervais logic. He always said that, and I like that. As long as it makes me laugh, and you have sometimes where you hit more than you miss and vice versa. But that's the idea, is to combine journalism with YouTubers and kind of come up with this unique magical thing in the middle that hopefully people enjoy.
Well, talking of unique magical things, the Miller Report.
The Miller Report, which is why my face is all red right now, because we filmed one this morning for anybody watching this going, that man has a very red face. It's the remnants of fake blood.
It's quite different to what people are used to, especially in games journalism.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, in professional journalism.
The word professional being like professional journalism, yeah.
It's, you know, it's down the same sort of roads as, you know, the Jimquisition, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different, and just where did it spawn from?
Well, it's one of those things where I'd love to say we all sat down in a room and we said, you know, it would be amazing if we came up with this incredible weekly. I mean, it was always a plan to do it weekly because we had a big sit-down chat and we think that weekly content works because people think that, oh, on Tuesday I get to watch this. So you have to do less of a sell job if you can get that product over, for lack of a better term. So originally it started, and I apologise to anybody watching this that, you know, with words, on a show called Piss Morning, which was supposed to be like all video game people have a show of the week. And we didn't have a show of the week, so we thought, well, just try it. If it doesn't work and it crashes and burns, it doesn't matter. We've not lost anything. So obviously, if you're in the UK, most people watch This Morning, and we thought, Piss Morning. It's just so dumb. Like, it's just so dumb, so we thought we did that. So we wanted to take ideas that you see on morning television shows, one of which, more of an American idea, was that like the over-the-top, aggressive, you know, that kind of reads out people's tweets and stuff, but takes them as if they're hard fact. And that was my role in it. It was just like, that's what Miller, you know, that's what Miller can do. We all had different roles. And Piss Morning we did a couple of shows and it was good, but it felt a bit, it was lacking something. So it's just an idea we came up with. Said, okay, well, the Miller Report worked for 2 weeks in a row, so we'll take that out, we'll run that for it. Well, the idea was to run it for a few weeks and then take something else out of Piss Morning. But Miller Report, somehow, we just kept coming up with ideas. And I think the big thing was, I said this the other day to some people, if I had known we'd be here now and you would be coming to me talking about the Miller Report, we would not have called it the Miller Report. Because that makes it sound like I'm an egotistical maniac when you call it after me. That never would have been the case. But that was where we were at. And we all started to like the character because he was so abrasive and he was such a moron. And yet he was so true in what he thought that we kind of just realized there's so much we can do with this. And that coupled with my lack of shame, where I would say I'll go out into the public and do anything that we come up with. And then it was, you know, it kind of, after sort of 4 or 5 weeks, we noticed that people were getting on board and, you know, views started to go up. And engagement especially was really high in the Miller Report. So we were like, screw it, let's just see where we go with it. So at that point, it was like a week by week. Just go, just follow it, see where it goes. We came up with ideas, we threw it at the wall. Some were more successful than others. And now here we are, I think we're 30, 34, 35 episodes in, and we're all like, well, there you go. So I mean, the idea originally was just to have an almost satirical look at video game shows of the weeks. And not just taking from video games as well, like taking from what people recognise in the real world. Because in a dream world, people that come to our channel, they don't like video games, but they can still understand what we're drawing from. And it just spawned out of that into a an awful human being who believes in himself 100% and goes in search of fake truths. And that was it. That was it.
Well, that's why the name works, though.
Well, because it kind of blurs. I mean, because that was the other thing. It's also spawned forward by my love of professional wrestling. Like, if you've watched it, you know, and that's when we introduced a storyline. It was like, look, just wrestling it, and then it did kind of work, because if you can blur that line. Like, our favourite thing is people thinking he's real. Like, any comment that goes, this man is atrocious. So if we had changed the name, that doesn't work as well in many ways, because people do think he's legit. So yeah.
When I started watching it, I thought it was real.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Which one? What was the first one you saw?
I don't remember now.
Okay.
I just remember thinking, who's this?
Amazing. How long did it take for you to realise that he was not real?
I don't know. It took until I came back to it another time.
Fantastic.
Like, wait a minute.
See, well, I think that's a very nice byproduct. We never intended to try and trick people, but then as soon as we noticed it, we were like, that makes it gives it an extra edge. Because some people are out there talking about him. Have you seen this horrendous games journalist? And that was fantastic. In terms of ad-libbing, in terms of what we say back is all pretty much ad-lib. There'd be some lines we may come up with, I think that's fun, and we've got to work it in. But it's kind of like, I'm not saying it's on this level, but you've ever seen Curb Your Enthusiasm, where the plot is, you know what the plot is, you know where you're going, and you know what the final thing is, but everything in between you just make up as you go. And that's kind of what we've done. Like, you know, we always have a chat on a Monday. What do we want to do for the Meta Report? We come up with an idea. And then we tell everyone, like, that's your role, this is your role, and vice versa. But yeah, in terms of dialogue, we do come up with funny lines, I can't lie, so we'll put that in, but mostly it's just, yeah, like you and I chatting here, we just do that, but I just think we all like playing characters, so we kind of embrace them, and things come out, and there's kind of a no offence policy, like no one can be offended, whatever comes out, you just accept, so.
Video Gamer is it's got a Patreon now.
Yeah.
When did it start?
It started in February,
okay,
Patreon.
So, what made you take the jump to Patreon?
I think it was just a combination of Patreon is. Well, no, let me rephrase that. Someone like Giant Bomb, for example, has a subscription service through their website, and that's something that we wanted to tap into. Not because we wanted to make a tremendous amount of money from it, but because any extra money we could get in would free us up in other areas to do more creative stuff, which I think has, ever since the Patreon started, I think if you look at the YouTube channel especially, we've been able to take far more risks. Because we knew that, it's a good tool to see if people are invested in you or not. You know, because if people like what you're doing, usually, I do that, the patrons I give to are people that I'm invested in and I'm engaged with. So that was, the reason was, we could do it through videogamer.com, it could become a Video Gamer club member, you sign up here, but we were like, Patreon is popular, people know what Patreon is. It's, you know, it's got its own momentum now. Why invest in, you know, the time and the tools when there's a tool already there? So originally it was just let's see how it goes. If we get $5 a month, wonderful. If we get $5,000 a month, that's wonderful. Like, there was no good or bad. It was just, there's an avenue there. It frees us up in other areas. And also, and everyone seems to forget this, even us, if you are a patron to Video Gamer, we make sure you get more content. Now, I know there are some people on the internet like, no, you're cornering off the fan base. But for us, it was always like, if you go to Sainsbury's, and you buy £10 worth of eggs compared to £5 worth of eggs, you get £5 extra of eggs. We wanted to give something back. So, you know, if you do put in $10, you get an extra video. You know, it just allows us to, if people want more, we can give them more. And, you know, so far it's been incredibly successful. So we like to think that it was the right thing to do, and people understand it comes from a good place, and it's designed to help grow Video Gamer and our content, as opposed to being like, give us your money, you assholes, or anything like that. So.
No, yeah, I think it's a really good idea, especially since, you know, like, print media would, you know, have a subscription thing for each. That's
right. I mean, you know, you spend 15 quid every 6 months and you get X amount of issues and a free gift and stuff like that. And we just thought, you know, why? And everyone said, oh, what if it dies on its arse? Fine. That's brilliant. We cross it off. We're not a Patreon-related business. That's fine. It's not about, you know, everything being an overwhelming success. It's about failing and realise that's not an avenue to go down. The fact that it is doing so well is just icing on the cake, as they say. So yeah, I think it's a really good thing that. I also think this is arrogant massively, but I also like to think that, you know, other video game websites maybe couldn't pull it off because our fans are just the most, you know, they're passionate and they're loyal. They are loyal. I mean, they say some horrendous things sometimes, but they are loyal and they're really invested in what we do, and that's what you want. You know, I'd always rather someone say that was the worst thing I've ever seen than I don't care. That's what I don't want. I'd much rather people say that was crap. Fine, that's good. You can't like everything. So I like to think that that's somewhere we kind of exist on ourselves in terms of games media. But who knows? Maybe everyone could do it. Maybe they do it better than us. I don't know.
So before you came here, you were at THQ.
Yes.
PR.
Yes.
What made you change from PR to back to games?
Yeah, well, as a games journalist originally, it was literally a case of, and it is this shallow. It genuinely is this shallow. I had a call from THQ and they said, "Would you be interested in working on the WWE games?" And I said, "I really, really, really would." And it was one of those things where, you know, I've been a wrestling fan since I was about 5 years old, and I've never grown out of it. I remember my parents going, "He'll grow out of it one day," and I never have. I probably love it now more than I did when I was a kid. So, I mean, I was working on magazines at the time, and I did feel where I was, I'd done all I could achieve. Like, I tried to introduce video there, and that was not a direction they wanted to go, which is perfectly cool, and it's their business. So when the opportunity came up, I thought, well, I'm always up for trying something different. You know, again, it blows up in my face. That's awesome. I've learned from it. But also I got to work on the WWE games. So I'm glad I did it, because it didn't last very long, because the company was dead within 9 months, because we all know the THQ story, or if you don't, they went bankrupt. But it gave me 9 months of working directly with the WWE, which is something, you know, especially the kid in me is like, good work, Miller, you did it. And then, yeah, you know, it kind of, I'm not happy that THQ died by any, the people there were great, and I never wanted them to lose their jobs, but I feel like that was right, that was a nice time for me. Kind of, in retrospect, worked out well. It was, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a job that I wanted to do for the rest of my life, but getting to work with WWE was awesome. So that's why I did it. I wanted to work with WWE. I got to work with WWE. I hang out with wrestlers one day, and I was like, this is fantastic. So yeah.
Well, do you think that there are going to be more publications, big or small, that are going to be following this sort of formula now?
I have no idea. I'd love it if they did, because then we could get into fake feuds with them, and that's my big thing. I don't know really, because I think although we definitely have momentum with it, and we definitely see it as a success. Like, our big thing now is to get even bigger as we are, because in terms of YouTube, we are relatively small. You know, look at what the big YouTubers are doing. They're doing huge numbers, and we do well. I don't want to, you know, look down on what we're doing, but there is so much room for growth and so much room for momentum. So, you know, whether or not someone looks at what we're doing and go, well, it's good, but I don't know. But it would be nice if other games media outlets, you know, if you could look back in 15 years and go, oh, Video Gamer inspired a generation. I mean, that's never something I aim to do, or any of us aim to do. But if it did happen, it would be nice. So I don't know what will come out of the ashes, of all this. I mean, I'm glad that we did it first. I think it's always nice to be, even if something dies on its arse, it's always nice to be first. So I don't know. I guess if it all blows up and becomes super successful to where you're like the new PewDiePie or something, which who knows, then yeah, maybe. At the moment, it's still relatively new for us. I mean, we've been doing this, and we've always been a bit sort of weird, but we've been doing this kind of focus stuff since February, which is not that long. It's not even a year. So who knows what's going to happen. If other people want to join on, you know, I'd love that. It would be the best. But I have no idea where it will lead.
That's brilliant. You mentioned Ricky Gervais earlier. Are there any other people in particular that have inspired the way that you work, the way you film, the way you write?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I kind of mentioned Curb Your Enthusiasm as well. Like, you know, Larry David and Seinfeld. That was kind of when I was younger and understanding what TV was. They were the kind of two sitcoms which I just thought were, well, obviously Curb Your Enthusiasm in later life, but Seinfeld especially. Yeah, stuff like that was always good. Obviously, wrestling was a huge influence on me. And although, you know, not everybody likes wrestling, it's still storytelling. You can still learn how to craft and tell a good story and what people like and what they don't like. I mean, it's a very specific form of entertainment. Outside of that, I don't know really. It's kind of, we draw from everything. Like Brass Eye is something we all love. So we've taken a lot of kind of nods from there. You know, there's even stuff like Rick Mailbottom, and, you know, there is a lot of lewd, crude stuff that we do. But yeah, it kind of comes from all. I think the best thing about it is that we all kind of like the same thing, but then we all veer off in a very specific direction. Like mine was wrestling, and Jim's and Burns and Tom's and James's and Scammore's are all very different. It's just lucky that we all seem to be able to come together on it. But yeah, I mean, top of my head it'd be. I mean, Ricky Gervais, definitely. Stuff like Office and Extras, I always thought were just fantastic. Especially the whole. Again, it's that whole work shoot thing where it's not real, but it kind of is real at the same time, and that's kind of something we wanted to bring into it. So there's quite a few, but yeah, top of my head, definitely people like Larry David, Seinfeld, and wrestling. Just wrestling, always wrestling.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So characters like, you know, obviously the Miller Report, Mill Bob,
yeah.
like Tam McLeish, Where do these people come from?
Where do these people come from? Well, I mean, Jim has been doing Tam McLeish for longer than he's been a video gamer. I think the first Tam McLeish video was about 5-6 years ago, maybe. 2010. Yeah, so 5 years ago. So Jim's always been into his character stuff. And when I came back to join the video team, it wasn't necessarily something we decided to do straight away, but I know Jim always liked doing it. And it was just kind of something that I fell into. Like the Miller Report thing, as we said, was kind of I just like playing that character. Millbob was done, that came out of my frustrations after a weekend of watching YouTube about someone I didn't consider was particularly good at YouTube. No, not that I didn't understand, because that guy does very well. So the joke's on me, really. He's making millions of dollars, I'm not. So, I'm genuinely, that sounds bitter, I didn't mean like that at all, but genuinely, they're the success stories. But as a man who is over 30, who is trying to be a success on YouTube, because that's what we're trying to do, it was like, I don't get this. I think, it's my inner frustrations. But I also did think, all this guy does is scream and shout and like everything. Anyone can do that. And it was literally one of those things where I came in on Monday and said, we're doing this video today. And it was all off the cuff. It was supposed to be a one and done. He was never going to come back. But there was a good enough reaction to it, to where I said, look, we can run it into the ground. Like, even if we get 4 videos out of it, if the 4th one's terrible, that's 3 more than we were supposed to have. And yet somehow it kept going. So that one actually came out from me literally just watching YouTube going, what the hell is this? I don't understand. So let's parody it, let's take the mick. And it was just, I don't know where the voice came from. I don't know where the mannerisms came from. I know where the hat came from, because I saw it and went, I can wear my hat at Johnny Angle. But otherwise it's all, I don't know, because it's the same with Millboy. If you had told me 6 weeks ago we'd still be doing that, I'd be like, well, no, we're not, because that doesn't make any sense. So it all kind of comes from just an idea, a random idea that comes from who knows where, and then it's like, just run with it. Just run with it. I mean, Tam McLeish, I don't know where Jim got the idea to be a fictional Scottish policeman that wants to review games. Again, I bet it would be the same. I never actually asked him, but I bet it would be the same. It would just be like, why not? Why not do it? I think the good thing is we're all kind of happy to fail if needs be, and then, right, he's gone. Just shift him. Well, there is. I mean, if you remember the Patreon, there's loads of characters up there that never see the public light of day because they're terrible. But we still give them to the patrons and stuff, because it's funny. It's funny to see people try. So screw it. Let's see where it goes. And if people stop liking it, we'll change course. So, yeah, who knows?
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Only one more question, really.
Yeah.
Do I know the score?
Do you know the truth?
That's the question.
Exactly.
Thanks very much.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate it.